What's going on, everybody? We are back, and I wanted to do something a little different, and I figure I go ahead and put my thoughts in the mix with the new Spider-Man coming very soon. It possibly going to be the last movie that Tom Holland's going to be in, and I wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts on all the Spider-Man movies as a whole as of right now, and that includes the Raimi, the ones with Andrew Garfield, the ones with Tom Holland, and even the Spider-Man to Spider-Verse. So, without further ado, again, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to get into it. But again, if you agree with me, that's fine. If you guys don't agree with me, that's fine too. I'm giving you guys my full opinion of what I think about these movies. Again, after going over several years after what I think about them, again, this is my opinion. Let me rephrase that one more time. It's my opinion. Again, if you guys don't agree, that is fine. But again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But without further ado, I'd say the very first movie that would probably have to be my favorite would have to be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And the reason why I like that movie so much is because not only is it in animated form, we get to see multiple versions of Spider-Man. We get to see, I guess, the older version of Spider-Man. We get to see Gwen Stacy. We get to see, Spider-Noir. We get to see Miles Morales. We get to see all the ones that I know a lot of people, including myself, like, and they actually, personally, I think that this really helped the movies because it made it look more intense. It felt more relatable, as well as it just was a fun thrill ride to be able to watch all the other Spider-Man come into like one world and have to work together to go back to not only their own universe but see the reason why they became Spider-Man. And they did it such an amazing well, and also explaining Miles' story, how he met, the Spider-Man in his world, and how Peter died, and how he found him, but at the same time he was like, hey, I'm going to teach you, but then he dies, and then he gets this other version of Spider-Man that is a lazy slash, old school type of Spider-Man, but at the same time he's trying to find his way back to being the Spider-Man that we all know and love. Now, again, not every Spider-Man movie is going to be the best, but this one has to be my number one. Now, my number two will probably have to go to... I don't know. It's hard because I'm debating between Spider-Man, the Raimi, or the Amazing Spider-Man. Now, again, hear me out. I'd have to go with Spider-Man one, the Raimi with my guy Toby. Um, that'd have to be my second one. Very near and dear to my heart. I saw this in theaters when I was a kid. I remember watching it over and over again on VHS, then DVD, just nonstop. Seeing Spider-Man on the big screen, the suit, it's very nostalgia for people like me, especially if you went to go see it in theaters, you grew up with this Spider-Man, and you loved this Spider-Man. And again, when I go back to it, back then there were things about it I disliked. Things about it I disliked was the whole web shooters, it being, within his skin, not, making them. I didn't like that. I liked the suit. I didn't agree with the casting to a certain degree. I don't think I didn't really take James Franco very seriously as Harry Osborn. Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane Watson. Again, I don't think that was good casting at all. I think she's probably one of the worst, aside from Zendaya. I think she's better than Zendaya as Mary Jane, but again, I did not really care for her portrayal as Mary Jane in this version of Spider-Man. Now, Tobey, for the first three films, he did very well. The first one, again, he worked with what material he had, but at the same time, I think that the movie could have just been a little bit better. Again, going through the motions of, about Uncle Ben and the first suit, and then, making the first suit and going through the changes and everything. Again, this is everything that, we know about Spider-Man. So again, for Spider-Man to Spider-Verse, first one I have to give about a 9.5, and first Spider-Man movie of the Raimi, probably an 8. Now, going to Spider-Man 2, because I'm going to go in the order that I like for the Spider-Man movies, okay, guys? Spider-Man 2 Raimi, again, with the first one with Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, that, again, is still badass casting. And then seeing Doc Ock in this was absolutely incredible. That train scene, I still think is probably one of the best scenes in Spider-Man movie cinema. Again, I have to say it's probably not probably the best Spider-Man movie, but it's still a very badass scene, seeing Spider-Man versus Doc Ock and the whole, everybody putting their hand on his chest with, bringing him into the train and just, saying, hey, we're going to keep your secret and, welcome back, Spider-Man. And again, it's one of those movies, again, I think the part that I really didn't like was the whole him losing his powers the way he did and then gaining it and returning it. And again, when you're older, you realize the reasons why, due to PTSD and other issues going on in Peter Parker's life. And also having, to deal with, does he love Mary Jane? And, does he want to stay with Mary Jane? And then also the issues with Harry at the end of the movie. And then also, losing his Uncle Ben. And also, seeing someone else die that he considered a father figure. All these different things that we saw in Spider-Man 2. And at the same time, there was issues about it. And at the same time, it was still a great movie at the end of the day. Again, probably not the best casting for some, such as, James Franco still as Harry Osborn, Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. I really did like that. Now, again, he will get replaced later on down the line. But at the moment in time, it was still a great movie. I still think that is probably one of the best Spider-Man films out there. Probably not like the best Spider-Man film, but in Marvel, it ranks a little low for me, but over in Spider-Man, very high. So over 1 out of 10, I have to give it a 7.5. I'm going to have to give it a 7.5. Probably my next one will have to be The Amazing Spider-Man. Now again, The Amazing Spider-Man, I have to say there's things about this I like, there's things about it I dislike. Now again, Andrew Garfield has this thing where he is probably, a lot of people's least favorite, but I have to say between, like, Tobey was probably the best Peter Parker, but Andrew was probably the best Spider-Man. I like the suit, I like the way it was, I like the way it was going for the storyline, showing, hey, this is what we're doing. He made his own web shooters, made it, went into a little bit about his parents, same thing about losing Uncle Ben. Also, Gwen Stacy, first time, I think Emma Stone was amazing as Gwen Stacy. I think that was great casting. Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Again, I kind of felt like they went back and forth with trying to figure out what exactly they wanted to do with his character, and also trying to figure out exactly because like, oh, he's cool, then he's this, then he's that. And he kind of had like that nerdy type of cool thing going on. But again, I don't think they really necessarily did it to the best of their abilities, because again, Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, Spider-Man is cool, but at the same time, Peter Parker is that nerdy, but a tiny bit cool, very, scientific. We got to see that a little bit more in this film, especially with the Lizard. I think the Lizard was a fine addition to the franchise, seeing, Dr. Kurt Connors become the Lizard, and the relationship developing between Gwen Stacy and Peter, then finding out that he's Spider-Man, as well as all these other characters that we get to see in the story as well. So again, when I first watched it, I was like, but then at the same time, it grew on me. I like the suit, like I stated. I like the way that they made the web shooters, Spidey sense, as well as everything. They kept true to the comics to a certain degree, as well as also, again, will they continue the Sony? Again, they could have. But let's go ahead and check on the other movie that I'm going to be talking about next. Is going to be The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I do think that this is better than the Spider-Man 3 Raimi, and the only reason why I say that is because Venom in there was absolutely horrible. But are they better than the Tom Holland Spider-Mans? Yes. The reason why I like this movie better than I do the third Raimi, is because, again, Sandman I felt like was an okay character, but at the same time I felt like that this one did better, showing Rhino to a certain degree. Electro was very cringe in this film. Jamie Foxx came across really cringy in this film. I didn't really particularly care for his character. I felt like we were robbed a lot of scenes with not only Mary Jane in this film, but meeting Mary Jane, and also about Peter Parker's dad at the very end of the film, and also the Sinister Six, the Green Goblin in there. I felt like they were wanting to do it something else from like one of the TV shows, but at the same time, I felt like Green Goblin's always gone back and forth. I didn't have that too much of an issue with Green Goblin. I had more of an issue with Electro because, again, just how cringy it was. But at the same time, I also liked it, again, to the point where we got to see more of the web swinging. We got to see more of Spider-Man being a hero. We got to see that scientific part of being Spider-Man. Just all the things about it. And, showing 3 different villains: Green Goblin, Electro, Rhino, and the Scorpion suit, the Vulture. Everything at the end of this film could have been just absolutely incredible, but at the same time they didn't really do that, and I really wish that they did that. Now again, issues with the third Raimi film was probably due to Venom. Venom just did not look like Venom. When I was younger, I enjoyed it, but then when I got older, I was like, man, what the hell were they thinking? I did not like it. The only thing I really liked was the Spider-Man black suit that I really enjoyed, was to the part where it just looked absolutely amazing. Seeing that black suit the first time on screen, that was probably my favorite part. Other than that, Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, couldn't take very seriously. Kristen Dunst again, Mary Jane, very flawed. James Franco as, new Green Goblin, very flawed. A lot of issues in this film, could have been a lot better. Toby, he did a good job. At the same time, some of it was kind of cringe, especially with that dance that we all know. Other than that, Spider-Man 3 would have to rank down for me as well. Now, the next film would probably have to be Homecoming, and then after that, of course, Far From Home. Now again, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap these 2 films. The last, for Homecoming, very disappointing for casting for Tom Holland and Zendaya. Michael Keaton as Vulture was cool, but at the same time, again, in both films, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, relies too much on Iron Man. He does. Like, let's be honest. He relies too much on Iron Man. He relies too much on help, and he's just not the best Spider-Man. He doesn't come across as someone that can be as smart, because he always needs help. He's doubting himself. He's always needing like some type of help from somebody at the end of the day, and it's like he cannot handle something on his own, and that's always been a big problem, because it's like, okay, if you're a hero, why are you having issues doubting yourself when you're supposed to be Spider-Man? You just helped Iron Man take down 2. He took down, Falcon, and he took down the Winter Soldier by himself. I mean, I just don't understand. Because in a movie, if he's helping someone, he looks like a badass. But on his own, it just doesn't work. I don't know what it is. I don't know. And a lot of people has mixed feelings on Tom Holland. Again, going into Far From Home, I felt like that was just a real horrible movie, to the point where it's more about Mysterio and Jake Gyllenhaal playing as Mysterio. I think that was cool, but at the same time, there was issues with that as well. And at the very end, with the identity, and then also seeing just all the issues that they had in this film, to where, like, always, then he's going to Nick Fury for help, then he's going, for Mysterio for a minute, thinking Mysterio's a good guy, and then at the same time, just continually this continually doubting, man. It's horrible to, they want to keep putting that into this film, and it doesn't make him a strong character. He's not building himself as a character. He's relying too much on other characters, to where he actually cares about, I gotta have this person to rely on, or this person to look up to. And he's gonna be doing the exact same thing in the third film of Spider-Man No Way Home. He's probably gonna go to Toby for, advice. Maybe he's finally gonna grow on his own to a certain degree. I don't know. I really don't know here, guys. I'm praying that the last movie with Tom Holland is going to be the last one we get. I don't think that he is worthy enough to be Spider-Man. I don't think that he is a good Spider-Man. I can't take him very seriously as Spider-Man. So again, Toby, Andrew, and then Tom Holland would have to be, in order for best Spider-Man to least favorite Spider-Man. But again, those are my options. Again, if you guys don't agree with it, that's perfectly fine. Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I am not a Tom Holland / Zendaya fan. I can't take him seriously as any character. I think they are horrible for the characters. Again, if that's supposed to be Mary Jane Watson, I'm good. No, I don't think there's been a good Mary Jane Watson casting, in my opinion. I don't think there's ever been a perfect casting for Spider-Man. I think there's always been, Tom Holland doesn't fit, his character does not fit either or for Peter Parker or Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield was a better Spider-Man than he was a Peter Parker. Toby, he was a better Peter Parker than he was a Spider-Man. So again, he was a good Spider-Man, but at the same time, he was a better Peter Parker than he was a Spider-Man. But either way, guys, those are my thoughts from Spider-Man movies ranked. Do you agree with it? If not, that's cool too. Let me know the reasons why down in the comments down below. What are your favorite Spider-Man films? I'd like to know down in the comments down below. If you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing. Leave a big fat like on the video. Hope you enjoy. Click notifications so you guys are notified every time I upload. More videos coming about Spider-Man, among other things, so keep on the lookout, and I'll see you guys on the next one.